You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
This episode is brought to you by Palo Alto Networks, the leader in cybersecurity. As AI-driven attacks increase, organizations can't afford to have network security that's stuck in the past. Discover how Palo Alto Networks can help you predict what's coming and proactively secure against it with a zero-trust, AI-powered network security platform built to secure whatever, whenever, wherever. To learn more, visit paloaltonetworks.com/network security platform. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CyberWire's Research Saturday. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is our weekly conversation with researchers and analysts tracking down the threats and vulnerabilities, solving some of the hard problems, and protecting ourselves in a rapidly evolving cyberspace. Thanks for joining us.
So basically, what we have done is we have designed a threat intelligence system, and this threat intelligence system collects data from open source intelligence as well as some closed and open source sources.
That's Amit Malik. He's Director of Threat Research at Uptycs. The research we're discussing today is titled Unwanted Guests, Mitigating Remote Access Trojan Infection Risk.
And this data that is coming, it's massive amount of data that comes to us, and our intelligence analysts, they analyze that data on daily basis. So when they were going through this data, then they realized that there is a new kind of malware that they have seen. Now, based on that, they started the exploration of their further investigation to understand what this new malware is. And they realized that this is a new remote access Trojan. That's how this basically it was identified.
And you all refer to this as QwixxRAT. RAT, of course, is Remote Access Trojan. Can you describe to us typically what is the functionality of a RAT?
Correct. I mean, a remote access Trojan, as the name suggests, right? It's basically the attacker can use it to control your system remotely. Now, there are different type of capability and functionalities that comes with a remote access Trojan. We are calling this particular remote access Trojan as QwixxRAT because that was the name that we saw inside the code of when we were doing the reverse engineering. So we saw that this name inside the code of the malware, right? And specific to the functionality of a RAT, it varies across the malwares. Like in this case, the QwixxRAT is capable of doing not only your controlling your machine remotely, but it has some additional capabilities of other malware types like ransomware. It can encrypt the file of your machine also, depending on the instruction coming from the command and control. Right. In general, the remote access Trojan is basically somebody that talks to a command and control server, get the instruction, and then execute them. It can be screen capture. It can be, taking backups of or, exfiltrating your passwords from your password stores, and then, keylogging and all these kind of stuff that in general done by the remote access Trojans.
And QwixxRAT is for sale here? Folks can buy various versions of this?
Correct. So basically the attacker tried to, it's a two-way process that the attackers are using. One is that they are also distributing the trial version of it, right? So that you can try out the functionality, you can see about it, right? The other thing is they are also like, if you are happy with the trial version, then you can actually purchase the advanced version from them, right? And then use it for your purposes, and they will create the infrastructure for you, right? So essentially, the RAT uses the Telegram. So Telegram is kind of a chat services, and they can create, separate channels for you so that you can monitor the RAT using the Telegram.
The start of the year is a great time to take that next step in your education, career, and beyond. Rely on N2K certification prep to provide the tools to help boost knowledge, skills, and confidence to get you there. And now, for a limited time, all N2K certification practice tests are 40% off. Visit n2k.com/certify and use promo code N2KVDAY. That's N2KVDAY to save 40% on your purchase. That's n2k.com/certify with promo code N2KVDAY. Offer ends Monday, February 19th. Happy learning.
And now a word from our sponsor, QwixxSense. QwixxSense provides award-winning cloud-based automated endpoint and vulnerability management solutions to streamline IT and security operations. With its advanced platform, businesses gain complete visibility and control over their infrastructure, reducing IT and security risks and optimizing operational efficiency. With QwixxSense, you'll get real-time alerts, risk-based vulnerability prioritization and remediations, and an intuitive automation and orchestration engine so you can focus on your core business goals, confident in the knowledge that your enterprise is secure, compliant, and running smoothly. Visit QwixxSense.com to learn why enterprises choose them. Well, let's walk through the workflow here of QwixxRAT. I mean, how does someone typically find themselves infected, and then how does it go about doing the things it wants to do?
So basically, what really happens is the QwixxRAT attackers, they are selling it into the market, and the other attackers can actually purchase it, and then they can bundle it with their attack, right? So right now we are unsure of how the initial attack is done, meaning that it could be a malicious document file or a PDF file where the link is embedded inside, and maybe an email is sent to the user where they might click on that email, right, on the link, or might open the attachment, and that ultimately downloads and executes this QwixxRAT, right? So essentially, after the infection, once it lands into your system, it does couple of things, like it creates it's identify whether it's running into the virtual environment or not. Normally, the security companies, they use the sandbox to run the malware for a specific time inside the virtual environment so that they can analyze the artifacts of the particular malware. So what this malware is doing is it's identifying the virtual machine environment, and if it sees that it's running inside that, then it will exit itself. And the other mechanism that it has is basically it creates new text to run its a single copy or a single process at a time, right? And once it basically starts inside your system, then it can pretty much do anything. Like, then there are some interesting capabilities. Like, we do not see normally in the recent RATs, those functionality, like it can control your CD-ROM driver also, right? It can. Now, CD-ROM driver is not very popular these days. It was back in the days, right? So back in the days, the RAT used to have that functionality, but it also have that functionality. So what we feel is that it has used some old code of some of the RATs, right? And our link is somewhere around Toxic Eye. And it has modified that code and created this new version of this RAT. So once it is installed on your machine, it can actually control the entire things on your machine. It can take screenshot. It can capture all of the keys that you are pressing. It can extract the password from your Google Chrome and Firefox and other browsers. There are lots of services that it supports, like your Telegram credentials and many other things that are supported inside that we have listed on our blog. Yeah, that's I mean from a kill chain perspective that it does.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, and the blog really lists quite a number of things that it's capable of doing here. We don't have time to go through all of them, but are there any that are particularly interesting to you that really caught your eye in terms of its capabilities?
Yeah, so one thing that we realized in this RAT is that it has a functionality of encrypting your files as well, right? So this is a kind of functionality we see in the ransomware attacks, right? So that's not normal behavior of a remote access Trojan, because remote access Trojan provides you the access and then you can exfiltrate the data and so forth. But in this case, you can also damage the data, where it can encrypt the files on your machine, and then it can delete the files and it can decrypt the file as well. So there is some motivation behind the rat, not just extracting the information, but doing the damage on the information, and then maybe asking for a ransom and this type of activity further in the attack. Right? So that is something that is we see as a kind of relatively new. And the other thing is the interesting about this rat is that it's not using the conventional command and control, like you have attacker hosted infrastructure where you are receiving the commands from the attacker hosted infrastructure. Instead, what these guys are doing is they are using Telegram as their command and control. So Telegram is a normal chat applications, right, used by the organizations and the people around the world. So using the Telegram to control the remote access Trojan, it's something that we are seeing in recent past, like in couple of 1 or 2 years, there is a significant rise in the malwares that are using Discord and Telegram to carry out their operations. So that's also kind of interesting in this malware.
Well, what are your recommendations for folks to protect themselves against this?
So in general, Dave, what we recommend to the people is that you should not really click any link coming inside your email from, think twice about clicking the link, or think twice about opening an attachment that is there, right? Clicking on those things, and do not really browse the random websites that are there, right? But even then, there are possibilities that there could be a 0-day that might land up and then, install this type of malwares on the system. So the best protection is to keep your security controls up to date and keep your system up to date, all your browsers or your email clients or the chat softwares up to date, and apply all the security patches that are coming. And then be vigilant about clicking all the links and opening and, browsing unnecessary stuff on the system. So these are the methods that we recommend.
How good is this at hiding itself? Are there indicators of compromise that are able to detect it routinely, or is it pretty stealthy?
So in terms, it is doing some of the work to bypass the detection mechanisms like the antivirus and the EDR. So normally it is trying to, it's using a function called wait command thread. And the purpose of that function is to wait when it does the activity, so that the monitoring or the correlation that is done by the security softwares, it can be kind of broken in between, right? So some functionality is there in order to evade the detection mechanisms, but there are we would say that the indicator of compromise, like we have also released Yara rule that scans the process memory. So process memory is a much more sophisticated way of detecting a malware, right? So, we can do the process memory scan to identify if this malware is executed on the system. But apart from that, it also touched the other files like browser credentials files and stuff like that. And normally the security softwares doesn't monitor if there is any access or any third party is trying to access these password store files or history and stuff like that. So the malware is trying itself to make it stealthy as much as possible. But we do also see that there is an opportunity for the security softwares and at the defender side that there is enough evidence, that people can detect it.
Is there any sense for how widespread this is?
So as of now, we do not really know how bigger the impact is. Right now, we know that there was a Telegram channel where the attackers were actually broadcasting it. And there were two models. One is that you can try out as a free trial and you can purchase it. And there was also a distributor model, meaning that you can be a distributor where you can distribute this forward and then they will compensate you as a part of that process, right? The moment we released a blog after around 2 weeks, we again, tried to reach that Telegram channel that was making these announcements. And now we see that channel is private. Now we cannot access that anymore. So earlier it was public and people could access that. So as of now, we do not know the overall scope of how bigger the attack is and how many people are impacted.
Our thanks to Amit Malik from Uptycs for joining us. The research is titled Unwanted Guests, Mitigating Remote Access Trojan Infection Risk. We'll have a link in the show notes. And now, a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud, the cybercrime analytics leader. SpyCloud disrupts cybercrime by telling you what criminals know about your business and your customers, so you can take action to prevent ransomware, session hijacking, account takeover, and online fraud. SpyCloud constantly recaptures and analyzes new data from the criminal underground, including credentials, session cookies, and PII siphoned from malware-infected devices. With knowledge of the specific exposed data criminals have in hand from InfoStealer malware on managed and unmanaged devices, security teams can respond with a more efficient and effective process called post-infection remediation that fits seamlessly into existing incident response frameworks. Get SpyCloud's post-infection remediation guide outlining the 7 steps for preventing a malware infection from becoming a full-blown ransomware incident. Visit spycloud.com/cyberwire. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire. And we thank SpyCloud for sponsoring our show. The CyberWire Research Saturday podcast is a production of N2K Networks, proudly produced in Maryland out of the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. This episode was produced by Liz Irvin and senior producer Jennifer Iben. Our mixer is Elliot Peltzman, our executive editor is Peter Kilpie, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening.